Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So this is going to be an update on all the bits and bobs I've been working on. This guy was featured in the last video. He's a kind of a swamp troll, something like that, from Reaper Bones to Bones 5. So I had a lot of fun kind of using a lot of resin here, this UV resin for the swamp or this kind of lake effect here in the drool, as well as this unlucky fish, this Nemo fish. So he was a lot of fun to put together, as well as paint up and add some texture with this kind of swamp scum, and I think that was cotton from top of cotton buds and that kind of thing. You might see it in the last video. So that's him. I do have a few bits kind of actually completed. So this is another Reaper Bones boar. I think this is Bones 5 as well. So kind of a speed paint just to slowly slug through those. Actually, I didn't put any pupils in his eyes. And you know what? I don't mind. I'm going to keep him as he's finished. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm recording this year. I'm trying to record, let's say, how much I spend on the hobby and the ideas for projects and what's been completed and started, that kind of thing, just to see how it looks at the end of the year. So I'm not going too bad so far on budget. Well, a lot of it is picking up little bits and bobs for making robots and stuff, like the big lad over there. I'll show you him in a second. But yeah, these guys are the wrestlers that were featured in the last video. And as you can see, the textures is really, really nice. When you just dry brush it, I think I had them Zenithal, I had them undercoated, and as you can see, I didn't go too crazy with the colors. I did kind of try to do like a flash of the yellow, very morkborg kind of look. I think they look pretty awesome. And you can pick up all the little bits of texture and stuff. That's all just baking powder or baking soda, whatever that stuff is. So he's my big demon cultisy type guy, and this is his I don't know, acquaintance with her boobs out, with the big huge mace. Same thing again, the yellow. I might do it different again in the future. I'm thinking of, like I showed in the last video, working on these big wrestling figures on, I think these are 35mm bases, just MDF. Yeah, I'll scribble on that as well. To see, just to mess with them and to mess with different textures and this different materials that I'd be finding or picking up in craft shops. I think they look cool and messy. So that's her. Like I said before, I don't know what I'm going to use them for necessarily, but they're just really fun to make. This is actually a Gaslands car. I've not made one in a while, and I don't think I've ever really made one that's trying to be clean. So this is for one of my friends, Mad Eye Miniatures, Armstrong over there, and he does a ton of Gaslands builds almost every day, basically every day. And he's got a ton of cars he's working through and just doing some mad stuff with them. So if you're into Gaslands, check him out for sure. And he did a competition for a subs count that he hit recently, and I was like, hey, there's an opportunity to do another Gaslands car that I haven't done in so long. So I had this one painted up, I finished it up, and used some UV resin as well on this kind of cockpit area here, which is a bead. That's a bit of a, what is it, a clothes peg, tiny little clothes peg, as well as I think they're headphones, and you know what I mean, just silliness really. Gave him a big ram at the front there. I don't know really what it would be even in Gaslands, but it was just to try something different, and the color combination was different as well. So that's going to be my entry for that. It ends at the end of February, to my knowledge. So you have, if I upload this today, I think you have 4 days, I think it is. So check that out. If not, should check out his channel anyway. But yeah, this is for Gaslands stuff. I kind of drop in and out of it between the Gaslands and that, and it's, like I said before, it's really accessible. It's just class. It's really, really cool. So I would say give it a go. This is another little fairy that I put together quite quickly. I'm not like blown away by it just because I think it's kind of boring, but as you can see, it's a pine cone, and then this is super sculpty, and same thing, its eyes were just kind of highlighted. I just put a little dab of the UV resin just to give it a little bit of reflection on it, and there's texture there as well. It's just another thing with the fairies I've been doing, and they have the bit of wire left on the end, so I could potentially stick them somewhere, but I don't really know. That's kind of another side one. When I feel like it, I kind of do that as well. So this guy in the back was a ton of fun. He's kind of the style of, scratch building, build making stuff, Andy Mecha kind of thing. Just some channels that do similar stuff, but this is, you got your Kinder Surprise big tub. I think it was from Easter, or maybe it was a special Christmas one. So this is his little, let's say his son or his boy, and this is the big daddy. Even if he does look a bit maybe a bit off with his eyes. But yeah, it's all just bits and bobs stuck together, sanded it up. When I sanded it, I think I used quite a harsh sandpaper, so it gave it a lot of texture, which I wasn't mad about. But then when I put the washes on it, it actually looks class. So you kind of sand up the plastics so they take super glue and they take paint, because a lot of these plastics aren't meant to be, they're not miniatures. They're not meant to be really glued together and that kind of thing. And the base is just Foamex as well, with some simple sand. But I love his kind of silly proportion, and he looks kind of goofy and harmless, but at the same time he's got some kind of blaster here, and he's got this big mace, which is another bead as well. And I think that's the lid of a milk carton or something like this, you know what I mean, with a bead. So it's all pretty simple stuff. EVA foam, bits of cardboard. Yeah, really, really fun. A lot of beads as well. This is Kinder Surprise, and this is a big Kinder Surprise. So it's really, I don't know, it's really fun to put together. And I'd love to, like, if you have a big army of these guys and you could play them as Space Marines or whatever, like this would be a big, huge dreadnought or something. It's very silly, but really, really cool to see them going across the table. You know what I mean? But I would say, yeah, give that stuff a go for sure. The scratch building, it's so cheap, and you're recycling as well at the same time, really, But he's really cool. He doesn't have a name or anything. He's just a big rubbish bot or bead bot. You see in the back here, these guys slowly getting painted up. They were featured in the last video as well. They're kind of on the background of my desk. They'll get done eventually. I think basically if I throw some washes at these, and then some highlights, I think they're basically done. I'll do his staff as well, but I think they're basically done then, and I'll do some tufts on their bases. It's really just when I have the hobby time, they're not the first thing I jump at doing. So they're kind of been sitting in the background for a while, as well as I tried to do some oil washes on them, on some of them as a test, and it actually started taking off the paint. So that's, sometimes the oil washes are so handy to slap it on, remove some of it, and you're kind of set. So that's kind of slowing me down there. I don't think they look pretty cool. This one's based on our own cat puds, so with long hair. That's kind of strange, but yeah. And then you see in the back here, this is a barn that was made out of, obviously still work in progress, but I think I might put a slight wash on it. I always find it hard because I had made the barn before, the wood barn before with the planks, which is fantasy, medieval in my head anyway. And then I don't have much knowledge of architecture throughout the years and, periods in time and stuff like that. And I was like, would this make sense as a home? It's a very simple home alongside that barn. In my mind, it wouldn't, but it depends on maybe income and culture and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is fur from a teddy. So this is, the actual top is just that basically. I think I pulled it out of a skip and just kind of clipped it up and PVA and that kind of thing. And it looks pretty cool. I think it's pretty convincing. PVA and paint as well, just to give it this color. I think I'll leave it as it is as well. The texture, the top of this was a top of a milk carton. I think I combined two together because I was like, it kind of has the peak anyway. And then I put some spackle or that filler stuff. I think it was a little bit of sand, or no, it was ash actually. It was ash, just because I thought it had really fine texture, and just PVA Mod Podge just to give it this texture. And I think this is kind of pretty good. Like, I'll tidy it up a wee bit and then do the rim, and I think that's another one for the village. Because the idea was, I think I'd mentioned in a previous video as well, this, I say this the whole time, I'm just like, oh, I'm mad, I hear about this game, I want to try it. Like, I've been watching videos on 5 parsecs, I'm like, that's cool, it's something completely different, but I'm just like, I'm not going to have time to do it, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, as well as it's kind of, you have interest, and then it wanes and stuff like that. So look, hopefully eventually things will happen, and there'll be some actually in real life gaming and stuff eventually, but that'd be amazing. But anyway, things like Rangers of Shadow Deep is why I wanted to construct some more houses. I'd mentioned it in other videos. So I have these minis from Alternative Miniatures. These are still in progress. I have to do some washes and highlights then again, but they are some Irish figures. They're from Alternative Miniatures, so they are pewter. I customized these slightly. I gave him a beard and a bag because he actually had a beheaded head, I suppose, decapitated head there, and I was like, it's a bit gruesome. I don't know if I'd be holding that, around my waist, yeah, these guys work in progress. As you see, a few washes and highlights, I think they'll be set. And so they're pretty cool guys. Like they're kind of, in a way, they're not the most, without being, offensive to alternative miniatures. The cost is very reasonable, but they're not the most, we'll say, not a time. Jesus, I can't even say it. They're not the most perfect sculpts, but I like things like that. You know what I mean? Also, I gave this guy a beard as well, just to make him a bit more rugged. So it's a cool pose. And this is a little Satanta, or going to be Cuchulainn. So as you can see, his eyes are a wee bit goofy there. That will be fixed with washes and a little bit of a cleanup after. But he's got his Hurl or his Hurley, depends on where you're from. So that's pretty cool. I just had to pick him up. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm totally buying him. Like, that's so cool, little kid mini. Like, as well as we're getting there. Don't worry. These are some more snake bite orcs, if I can even say it. These guys were a combination of, sometimes my son wants to make a miniature, and by that I mean we'll get bits of orc kit and just blue tack them together, and then later on in the evening I'll actually stick them together and add on bits and bobs. And he's got curly hair, so this orc also has curly hair, and the curly hair is just this stuff from, I think it's from a cushion or a pillow, kind of coarse stuff. I've used it for texture of different bits and bobs. You could use it for nashers as well, a different breed of nasher, maybe that could be interesting. But as you can see, if this is going to focus, I might find it a bit hard to focus just because it's all black. But yeah, he's got curly hair, so he's got a curly hair squig, a mace, he's got his slugger and this kind of thing. So he's just going to be a snake bite. I did some EVA foam on his belly there, just as some armor to see what it looked like. He's got his mushroom and he's got his little squig as well. I think that's just a bit of green stuff. Little squig on his base, because they all have to have a squig. This guy as well. Where's his squig? He has one. He has one on the base as well. If you can make that out, it's a bit goofier. And he's got his squig pelts and that kind of thing, and his arse is out. That's cool. And this guy as well. That's a Ramshackle Games head, I think, and I gave him just bigger tusks or teeth and some curly hair as well. And his squig is actually loaded in his slugger, if you can see that at all. Maybe I should have zenithal these or dry brushed them, but that's them anyway. They'll go in the queue for the orcs being painted. I have a few now to do, but so eventually I might actually have at least one squad of boys. So finishing up here now. This was one of the other wrestler guys I was working on. I was just putting some highlights and stuff on him today. As you can see, these are pretty slapdash. They're not like amazing paint jobs or anything, but I think this guy was a lot of fun with his grin and his goofy, very like unsymmetrical face. You know what I mean? But I really like it. This big, huge, silly Joker grin, extreme Joker. He almost kind of reminds me of, is it Frank the rabbit from Donnie Darko? Something familiar. Maybe it's the smile or something. But yeah, that's him. He was originally, I think, a Rey Mysterio. So I'm just going to highlight that up and give some shade of brown through this, and maybe a very, very slight highlight, as well as I'm going to put some metal on his swords as well, and I think that'll be him sorted. Next up, this little robot as well. Is it an egg bot, something similar to the big guy there in the back. As you can see, this is kind of a work in progress with the powder and the super glue. It kind of adds texture. It's kind of hard to see what it looked like till you put paint on it, till you undercoat, and then it brings it all together. These are just, it's coming up to Easter, so you have all these little cheap plastic eggs around, and they're a great opportunity for just shapes. I'd say pick them up while you can. The cat is trying to get into the room. But yeah, this guy, he should be painted up soon, and I'm just experimenting with, this is just paper with PVA put over it. It just looks like, let's say, metal, and I'm going to put some super glue and baking powder over that as well, just to make it a wee bit rusty, and maybe I'll make it look like it's nailed in. I'll see. But it's just like different panels of metals and stuff, just to add some interest. And you see his little pincers, and he's got some kind of a little gun and some kind of shield system here, just so I thought, like, the big guy in the back there has obviously a blaster and a mace, so to have some kind of weapons if they were to be used in some kind of game eventually. Another one in progress here is kind of an orc beat boob or orc robot. As you can see, the beads, that's just how it's broken down. This is very like, I saw Bill from Bill Making Stuff doing this, and I was like, man, that's class. I'm putting together a pretty decent collection of beads and bits and bobs from the range or any pound shop or any little things like that, because they're so cheap. And then when you get a bit of super glue, baking powder, or accelerator, whichever super glue accelerator, whichever you want to use, you can really like smash stuff together, and it's really fun. And this guy, so I'm going to figure out his legs, and then he'll be ready to go. I'll probably give him some kind of just hands, and maybe he'll have blasters in his palms, something like, we'll say, an Iron Man, and he's kind of an orky looking fella. And then last up is this weird ass creature. As you can see, a mental load of different textures here and some green stuff on the face, if you can call it a face. He's got two mouths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyes there, 6, 1 here, an arm coming out here, and just different textures and bits just to see. I think this was an animal, some kind of panther, and I was just going crazy with texture, and I'm just going to undercoat it and spray it up and see what I can do. And a claw here. I think this is a flashback now as well, if you can remember. These are fingernails as well, so that's another time I've used fingernails in a build. But they, super glue and Mod Podge as well, just to harden them up and put some baking powder on them as well. But that's going to be him. I think that's it, guys. That's another update. Like I said, I'm trying to keep a record of my spending and how much is going into the hobby. There is other little bits that's kind of ongoing, but that's off screen. You don't need to worry about that. And yeah, I say, look, do the YouTube stuff. Like and sub if you want. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Check out Mad Eye Miniatures for sure for Gasland stuff, as well as the guys Bill making stuff, Andy Mecca. There was that a whole scratch building scene. I don't know what you call it. I suppose scratch building as well. Like, he's another good scratch builder. You know who they are anyway. They're bigger than me. But yeah, check them out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Good luck.